In my years as a dermatologist, one thing I have realized is that no two people like the same sunscreen. And a lot of people come to me saying that I don't use sunscreens because there's a lot of white cast, it makes my skin sticky, it makes it look oily, makes me look darker, it makes me look dull. And honestly, all of this just means that, you're choosing the wrong sunscreen, because there's a million sunscreens out there and I'm sure you will find one with the texture that you genuinely like. I'm Dr. Tanvi Vaidya. I'm a board certified dermatologist and I'm going to talk to you about how you can choose the right sunscreen and literally everything that you need to know about sunscreens. So let's get into it. The first thing that you need to know when we talk about choosing a sunscreen is first you need to identify what kind of skin type you have. So I have a detailed video talking about how you can figure this out and I'm linking that video here so you can watch that separately. But broadly speaking, if you want to know what your skin type is like, wash your face with your regular cleanser, wait about 30 minutes, do not apply anything on your skin, and then touch your skin and just see how it feels. If you feel it's oily and shiny and sticky all over, that means you have an oily skin type. If it's dry, feeling very stretched out and dry basically all over, that means your skin type is dry. If you have a very oily nose or a forehead and the rest of your face is normal or it's dry, that means it's a combination skin type. And if you don't really feel like anything major is happening, it's not dry, it's not oily, nose is also fine, that means it's a normal skin type, which can also happen and it's okay. Okay, so now that you know your skin type, we can talk further about the right kind of sunscreens for each skin type. I am going to get into the recommendations later in this video, so be patient, we're getting there. Next, coming to what kind of SPF and PA factor and all of that. To start with, what is SPF? SPF is sun protection factor. It literally talks about how much your sunscreen can protect you against UVB radiation. Now, UVB radiation is the one that causes skin cancers, which is why SPF is super important when we're trying to protect ourselves from these skin cancers. In saying that, the skin cancer risk because of sun exposure is much higher in Caucasians, in people with white skin. In Indians, in brown skin, we don't really have that high a risk of skin cancer. In saying that, we still need an SPF of about 30. 30 is enough. Beyond 30, as you can see in this chart I've put up here, beyond 30, SPF 50, 80, 90, 100, 110 also people have come up with. I don't even know what that means. But all of it is hardly any difference. It's 1 and 2% here and there, so it really doesn't matter. Just make sure your sunscreen is an SPF 30 and you're good. But what we are concerned with, why we are majorly using sunscreens in India, is from a cosmetic perspective. We don't want to pigment, we don't want to age, we don't want those fine lines, we don't want open pores. So we don't want all of these things happening to our skin, for which UVA is honestly much more damaging. So what you need to look at more than the SPF rating is the PA factor, which tells you how much protection is giving you against the UVA radiation. So a PA factor of 3 plus or 4 plus is good enough and you're good to go. The next thing you need to look at in your sunscreen is whether it is water resistant or sweat resistant. So if you sweat a lot, or say if you're going swimming, there's going to be contact with water or with sweat, your sunscreen may just wash off. So when we say water resistant, that means it can resist water exposure continuously for 40 minutes. When I say waterproof, it means it can resist it for 80 minutes. So honestly, beyond 80 minutes, even a waterproof sunscreen is going to get washed off. So if you're using sunscreen when you're going swimming, or if you're working out, you're jogging, and there's going to be a lot of sweat, do remember that your sunscreen is going to get washed off. So use a water resistant or a waterproof sunscreen, but make sure you still reapply it. So when we talk about reapplication, how often do you need to reapply? Normally, I would say every 3 to 4 hours is when you need to reapply. Typically, frankly, what I personally do is I apply it once in the morning and then once in the afternoon at some point, around maybe 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, I reapply it once. If I'm out there though, like really out on the beach, then I'm really particular that I need to reapply every 3 hours. But if I'm swimming, as soon as I'm out of the water, I am going to reapply my sunscreen. If I'm jogging and I know I'm sweating a lot, I need to reapply literally every 1 or 2 hours based on how much I'm sweating. So keep that reapplication point in mind. Next, coming to how much sunscreen should you apply. Now, this is a very nebulous term when we talk about the 2-finger rule, say. So, a lot of people keep talking about the two-finger rule, in which you take two-finger lengths of sunscreen and you apply that for your face and for your neck. Which is true for the average sunscreen, but there's so many different types and formulations of sunscreens out there now that some are really light, very fluidy, some are really thick in consistency. So obviously the amount that you need of a thick sunscreen and the amount that you need of a light sunscreen is going to be different. So don't be too hard and fast about that, but please apply adequate amounts. I have also put up here exactly how much sunscreen you need for different body areas, so you can check that out as well. Now, a lot of us don't really have too much sun exposure. We're sitting indoors, but we're sitting in front of our screens all day. So you're sitting looking at your phone, you're looking at your laptop, and there's a lot of blue light exposure from these devices, which can also cause pigmentation on our skin. Now, most regular sunscreens do not confer blue light protection. So you need iron oxides in your sunscreen, which basically are found in tinted sunscreens, which can give you protection against this blue light. So look at your lifestyle and figure out exactly what is the thing that you're trying to protect your skin from, and choose your sunscreen accordingly. Tinted sunscreens also, of course, give you really nice coverage sometimes. Not very heavy coverage, but really nice light coverage. That can help hide an uneven skin tone, a little bit of pigmentation. So I personally love using tinted sunscreens because I do have some uneven pigmentation that keeps cropping up on my skin. Coming to which sunscreen you should apply, the recommendations, which is what everyone's been waiting for, I know. So if you have really dry skin, that's dehydrated, you may want to add a moisturizing or a very hydrating kind of sunscreen. I have given you a bunch of recommendations for these hydrating sunscreens, fluid-based, gel-based sunscreens. And the one I'm using here is the Hyaluron Moist Sunscreen by Innisfree, which is something I really like. And as you can see, the texture is really light, very, very hydrating. And yes, there's no white cast. Skin's looking super hydrated. Next, if you have very oily skin, acne-prone skin, or even just combination skin, you may want a light sunscreen, a silicone-based, mattifying kind of sunscreen. I have here the Ecosma Sheer Sunscreen, which is literally transparent. You can't see it. It's very mattifying, very light. But I have linked recommendations for other light mattifying sunscreens as well. If you're looking for a tinted sunscreen, for whatever reason, whether you have a lot of screen exposure or you're just looking to get a little bit of coverage to hide your pigmentation, I have linked a bunch of recommendations here. As you can see, again, most of them tend to not have a very high coverage, which I personally like. I don't like very heavy coverage based sunscreens. Here. So of course no white cast, and it blends pretty well with most skin colors and skin types. But again, a lot of recommendations linked below. You can take a look at those as well. Now, sunscreens for kids. Now, honestly, under the age of 6 months, we don't recommend using any sunscreen for kids. Even after the age of 6 months, though physical or mineral-based sunscreens are completely safe, they've been tested and proven to be completely safe after the age of 6 months. I still feel a lot of physical protection is enough for kids. A 6-month-old or a 1-year-old baby isn't really going out massively in the sun. So just a hat, long sleeve clothes, that should be good enough. But if your kid is massively going to the beach, there's a lot of direct sun exposure, you're on a picnic somewhere, then yes, use a physical or a mineral-based sunscreen. So these physical or mineral-based sunscreens are basically zinc oxide or titanium dioxide-based sunscreens. So there's no risk of absorption and any possible risk to your child when you use these. The same sunscreens are safe during pregnancy, during lactation. So even all you pregnant mommies can also use those same sunscreens and then keep using them for your kid once they're born, after 6 months. Also, physical or mineral-based sunscreens are the ones that are recommended for people with very, very sensitive skin. So for example, if you have rosacea or just a very, very sensitive skin which gets irritated when you apply most things, a physical sunscreen may just work for you. And here are some recommendations for physical sunscreens for kids, pregnant women, lactating women, and generally all of you sensitive skin people out there. Now, when you do reapply your sunscreen, you do not need to wash your face and then reapply it again. You can just reapply it over your previous layer of sunscreen. Even if you're wearing makeup, you can reapply it over your makeup as well. if you're wearing makeup and you don't want it to spoil your makeup, use a light serum based, very fluid kind of sunscreen, works really well. You can use sunscreen powders, sunscreen compact, all of that for reapplication works extremely well. But remember, with powders and compact, you need to apply a significant amount for it to count as, and for it to provide adequate sun protection. The next thing I'd like to talk about is some newer kinds of sunscreen applicators available. So sunscreen sticks. I personally am not a big fan of sunscreen sticks for two reasons. One is the contamination risk, because you're applying it to your skin. If you have a lot of sweat, a lot of grime on your skin, you're just reapplying the same thing. If you're acne prone, this could lead to breakouts because of a hygiene compromise here. The second issue I have with sunscreen sticks is, we use them because they're easy to apply, right? Like you just go all over your face and it's done. But to get adequate sun protection, you need to apply this stick 4 times over the same area of your skin. So 4 passes over each area. So imagine 4 times here, 4 times here, 4 times here. It's a lot. Isn't it much easier to just apply regular sunscreen instead? So I'm not the biggest fan of sunscreen sticks. Coming to sunscreen wipes. Now this is something I saw at a local Wellness Forever somewhere. And I was shocked. What are sunscreen wipes? Why are they even made? Firstly, they are an SPF of 15, which is already inadequate. Usme se you're just wiping your face with a sunscreen on a wipe. How much is going to go on your skin? How much protection are you going to get? I don't think it makes any sense. I think people are just making nonsense products right now. So please don't go for sunscreen wipes and stuff like that. Stick to regular hardcore sunscreens. I have given you enough recommendations. Next comes sunscreen sprays. I love sunscreen sprays when we use them on the body. But when we use them on the face, we do not know how safe they are, because sunscreens have been tested for safety on the skin. Have they been tested on the lungs? No. So we don't know if the accidental inhalation that may happen when you spray it on your face, is it safe or not for inhalational toxicity. So if you have a sunscreen spray, spray it on your hands, massage it in, and then apply it on your face. On your body, go crazy. Absolutely, I love sunscreen sprays too. I really hope this video helps you guys to be able to choose the right sunscreen for you. I hope you find a sunscreen that you love and you have a long, happy relationship with your sunscreen. If you like this video and if you would like to know more about skincare, do follow our page, subscribe, and give this video a like.